Okay, so welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really getting into this artist Bob Camblin, and I always say this, but this one is it's a really interesting one. You sent us a bunch of stuff about him, right? Like there's this YouTube video where they're talking about one of his pen and ink drawings, this one called Belabouring the Obvious, and then we have like some writings from him too, right? Bob Camblin quotes and other mysteries, I think it's called, and then a bunch more, a biography and like some forwards from his books, stuff like that. So we're going to try to really get into all of it.
Yeah, this is a really meaty deep dive, and I think belaboring the obvious, that drawing is a really good place to start. It's like a microcosm of his whole deal, you know.
Yeah, for sure. So belaboring the obvious, I mean, when you look at it, you see the cityscape way in the background, really defined, like sharp lines, almost kind of severe, right?
Right.
And then right in front of that is this pane of glass, but it's all cracked with a bullet hole. And then there's this big, I don't know, tree or heart, this big organic shape with all these roots and branches. It's really interesting how he puts those two things, the city and the tree, together. Like, what is he trying to say?
Oh,
What's
it's
going
interesting, right? Because you have that really rigid, like geometric cityscape,
Yeah,
and then that organic shape. It's so different, and then the glass,
yeah,
broken but still holding together.
yeah,
Like it's a moment frozen in time.
yeah.
Fragility, but also something that lasts. You see that a lot in his work, that tension between opposites.
Right, and the YouTube transcript, the one where they're talking about the drawing, they talk about it from all these different angles. Zen philosophy, the I
Yeah.
Ching, Taoism.
Yeah, and it really makes you think about it in different ways. Like if you look at it from a Zen perspective, it's about seeing how everything changes, how nothing lasts forever. That bullet hole, it's like a reminder that even the strongest things can be broken. And the tree, it's all about being connected to something bigger than yourself, this essence that survives even when things fall apart.
They even talk about how it connects to the I Ching, like specifically hexagram 49, revolution. That whole idea of a breaking point where the old ways have to change. Like the glass is broken, and then you get the tree, the symbol of survival.
It's like shedding skin, right?
Yeah.
You have to let go of the old to make room for the new. And I Ching is all about that, those cycles of change. It's not always easy, but it's necessary.
And then there's the Taoist perspective. They say in the video that the Tao, that energy that flows through everything, it's in those cracks in the glass, just like it's in the roots of the tree. Like disruption is a natural part of life.
Yeah, it's about accepting things as they are, going with the flow, not
Mm.
resisting change. Like that broken glass, it could be a metaphor for all those imperfections in life. And the tree, it's that part of us that keeps growing, keeps adapting.
It's really interesting too because the YouTube video, they talk about how you can see yourself in this drawing. Like you're the cracked glass, all those times you felt broken, but you're also the tree, that strength inside of you.
Right. It's so relatable. I mean, who hasn't felt broken at some point? Right. But we find a way to keep going, to heal. That's what's so powerful about this image. It speaks to that experience.
And then they talk about belaboring the obvious as like a metaphor for being creative. The glass is all the things that block you, and the bullet hole is that moment when you break through.
It's true, right? Creating something new always means breaking out of the old mold. And the tree, it's like this symbol of that creative spirit, always reaching, growing, pushing against boundaries. It's really beautiful when you think about it like that.
Visually, too, the drawing is really interesting, like how the crack in the glass splits it into two parts. On one side, you have that close up of the crack, and on the other side, there's the city, but it's far away, almost detached. The transcript says it could be like a divided mind. Or maybe even trauma, like you're focused on what's broken right in front of you, and the world just keeps going on without you.
Yeah, that visual separation definitely creates a feeling of, I don't know, uneasiness. Which
Yeah.
you think about how we connect to what's around us, or if we even do connect. It's unsettling.
And then there's the title, Belaboring the Obvious. It's like, is he saying that we're so focused on what's broken, on the obvious damage, that we miss the rest of the picture?
It's like ironic, isn't it? We get so caught up in the drama, the big obvious things, that we miss the subtleties, the quiet beauty. It's a good reminder to pay attention to everything, not just the things that scream for our attention.
And I love how at the end of the video, they actually talk to you, the viewer. Like
Yeah.
they want you to think about your own life, your own cracks, and how those can be a source of creativity.
It's a really empowering message, isn't it? It's like he's saying, hey, we all have these broken parts, these challenges, but they can make us stronger, more creative, more ourselves.
So that's belaboring the obvious. But there's so much more to Bob Camblin than just this one drawing. Luckily, you sent us a bunch of other stuff about him too, like his biography. He was born in Oklahoma in 1928, went to the Kansas City Art Institute, and even got a Fulbright to study in Italy. He taught at a bunch of universities, too, including Rice University.
It's interesting they say he was iconoclastic and enigmatic, like he was this mysterious figure. And they say his work is almost impossible to find, like he didn't really care about selling it, he just wanted to make it.
Yeah, and reading about his early life, you can kind of see where he came from. Growing up in Oklahoma, there was this place called the Marland Estate. It was this really fancy place, but then it went bankrupt, like this rise and fall. And there was also this statue called the Pioneer Woman.
Yeah, that statue's interesting, right? It's all about strength and perseverance. You
Yeah.
can see how that might have influenced him, especially with that whole cracked glass and resilient tree thing.
Oh, totally. And then you add in The Wizard of Oz, Emerson, the I Ching, haiku. It's like all these different things went into making him who he was.
Yeah, it's a pretty unique mix. You can tell he was someone who was really interested in ideas, in stories, in philosophy.
His time in Italy was really important for him, too. He was inspired by the art in the Uffizi Gallery, but also by the Capuchin catacombs. He called those figures in the catacombs mummies.
The catacombs, that's a pretty morbid inspiration, right? But it makes sense. Like, he was interested in contrasts, life and death, beauty and decay. You see that in his work, too, those unexpected combinations.
Right, and it's funny, before he was an artist, he was a map maker.
Really?
Yeah, it
What?
says that in the bio. And he exhibited his work a lot early on, but then in 1976, he decided to completely change his life. Like, he quit teaching and became a nomadic artist, just traveled around selling his art to get by.
Wow, that takes guts, doesn't it? Just dropping everything and following your passion. It really shows how committed he was to his art.
Yeah. He did collaborate with other artists, though. Like in Houston, he worked with these guys, Earl Staley and Joe Tate. They called themselves B&E Productions and the holding firm. And they didn't just make art, they did these events. I wonder what those were like.
Yeah, the events part is really intriguing. Like, it suggests something more interactive, more than just paintings on a wall. It makes me think he was interested in pushing the boundaries of what art could be.
Totally. And it's interesting because he often signed his work anonymous or anonymous artists. Like he didn't want the credit.
Yeah, that's pretty radical. It's like he's saying the art is more important than the artist. Like, it's not about him, it's about the ideas.
For sure. And in his later years, he moved around again, lived in Oregon, then Louisiana, became kind of a recluse.
Sounds like he was always searching for something, always exploring.
Okay, so let's talk about his artistic philosophy. In the texts and reviews you sent, there's this idea that art is like a question disguised as an image, and that philosophy is trying to answer those questions.
I like that. It makes art more active. You're not just looking at it, you're engaging with it, trying to figure it out.
And he's always talking about paradox, illusions, traps for the viewer, stillness.
He's like, he wants to shake you up, make you
Got-
question what you think you know. And that stillness thing, I think that's really important too. Like, in a world that's always so busy, he's saying we need to stop and just be.
Definitely. And Zen philosophy is a big part of his thinking. That whole idea of like being in the moment, questioning your thoughts, finding enlightenment in everyday things.
It makes sense, right? That Zen focus on direct experience, on intuition. It's about going beyond the surface and connecting with something deeper.
And in the I Ching, that comes up again. Those cycles of change, transformation, like with the belaboring the obvious drawing.
It's a constant theme for him. Everything is always changing. And that's not something to be afraid of. It's just part of life.
He was really against traditional art criticism and the art market. He thought art should speak for itself, not be judged by critics or sold for money.
You can tell he was doing his own thing, not following trends. And he really believed that art had the power to touch people on a deep level without needing anyone to explain it.
His style changed a lot, too, over the years. He started with abstract impressionism, but then did this Muches Volantes style, all about optical illusions. He did some social protest art earlier in his career, then later he got into nature and organic forms. But that whole transformation thing, that was always there.
It sounds like he was always experimenting, always pushing himself. And the Mucho Volantes thing is really interesting. It's like he was exploring how we see things, how our perception works.
And he loved putting hidden meanings in his work. Puzzles, traps. And the text in his paintings, sometimes it's just a shape, sometimes it's a clue, sometimes it's a trick. He wanted people to really think about what they were seeing.
I love that. It's
Yeah.
like he's creating a dialogue with the viewer. He's not just giving you the answer. He's making you work for it, making you think.
He even said he wanted to question how people see reality. Like, he wanted to explore the otherworldly, use unexpected combinations of images to make people feel things they didn't expect to feel.
It's like he's trying to wake people up, you know, to see the world in a new way. And using those unexpected combinations, that can really get under your skin, make you think about things differently.
He even said he wanted to be like the Goya of the 20th century.
Wow, that's a pretty ambitious goal. Goyu was pretty intense.
Yeah, and you can see that in Camblin's work too, that darkness, that willingness to look at the hard parts of life.
It's not always pretty, but it's real. And
Yeah.
I think that's what he was going for, showing the world as it is, with all its beauty and ugliness.
He believed that intuition and logic are both important, and that we need to really see, not just look. And for him, the idea behind the art was more important than any traditional technique.
Yeah, that seeing thing is so important. It's about being present, paying attention. And I think that's what he wanted people to do with his art, to really see it, to engage with it.
You talked about something called the mystic switch, like a moment when you see the truth. And he thought we learn through failure, through relaxing, through feeling, and through really thinking things through.
Yeah, he wasn't afraid of failure. In fact, he saw it as part of the process. And I think that's really important for artists, for anyone, really. You can't be afraid to try, to experiment, to fail sometimes.
He also talked about magic for seeing versus magic for power.
Magic for seeing, what's that?
Yeah, he said magic for seeing is a good thing, like a way to understand the world, but magic for power is about controlling things, using magic for your own gain. That's bad.
That's an interesting distinction. It's like he's saying art is about revealing truth, not manipulating people.
And he thought artists should be free to do whatever they want. And he had this idea of an ecology of art where artists are all doing their own thing, but together they create this like balanced ecosystem.
It's a beautiful image, right? Like each artist is contributing to this bigger picture. And yeah, artists need freedom to explore, to create, without being limited by rules or expectations.
And he was really aware of how hard it is to make art that's meaningful in a world that's all about shock value and instant gratification.
That's so true. It's like we're bombarded with images all the time, but how many of them actually make us think, make us feel something real? I think Camlin was trying to create art that had a lasting impact, art that stayed with you.
Totally. And now let's get into these quotes from him, like Bob Camblin quotes and other mysteries. They're all over the place. Time, nature, memory, magic, philosophy, art, you name it.
Yeah, you sent me those. They're really something, like little nuggets of wisdom. They make you think.
He talks a lot about nature, like finding something in nature that completes you and surrendering to it and
Yeah.
being present in the moment.
That's very Zen, right? Letting go of control, connecting with something bigger than yourself. And that present moment thing, that's so important. We get so caught up in the past or the future that we forget to just be here now.
Right. And he has these great lines like, step off the train of thought. And when you think, don't act. When you act, don't think.
I love those.
Yeah.
They're so simple but so profound. It's like he's giving you instructions on how to live a more mindful life, to quiet your mind, to be more in your body.
He also says that the cosmos is waving back at us through nature. And he talks about how hard it is to communicate sometimes, how arguments can be so difficult.
That image of the cosmos waving back, that's beautiful. It's like we're not separate from the universe. We're part of it. And yeah, communication is hard, especially when you're trying to express something deep, something that can't be easily put into words. Maybe that's why he used art to communicate.
And he has this thing about a search, like the gate stays open, the fence broken, but the search continues with faith.
It sounds like he was on a lifelong journey, always searching for something more. And that faith part is interesting. It's like, even though he didn't have all the answers, he still believed in something bigger than himself.
He talked about revolution versus evolution, said revolution comes from misunderstanding, and evolution is about understanding.
It's like he's saying real change comes from within, from a shift in consciousness, not from violence or forcing things to happen.
And then he says, you never miss the water till the well runs dry, which is so true.
Yeah, it's like a reminder to appreciate what we have,
Mm.
right? To not take things for granted.
He was really interested in the universe, like, is it finite or is it infinite? And then he says this thing about dreaming of how it works, which seems to be what his whole life was about.
It's like he was always curious, always trying to figure things out. And that dreaming part, I think that's really important too. It's about using your imagination to explore possibilities, to go beyond what's known.
He talked about time travel, but at the speed of enlightenment, and how the path of least resistance is actually really hard for humans.
Those are mind benders for sure. I think he liked to play with words to make you think outside the box.
Totally. And then he talks about futility and provocation, but he also says dolce far niente, which means like the sweetness of doing nothing. And he says that art is the expression of one's whole personality.
Dolce far niente. I like that. It's like he's saying it's okay to relax, to just be. And yeah, art is so personal, isn't it? It's like a window into someone's soul.
And this one is really interesting. He says, belief creates the actual fact. And he quotes that Zen saying, those who know don't tell, and those who tell don't know.
Belief creates the actual fact. That's powerful. Makes you think about how our thoughts shape our reality. And the Zen quote, that's about the limits of language, right? Like some things can't be explained, they have to be experienced.
Then he talks about imagination and how important it is. And he makes a distinction between believing and knowing. He says mystics know things, but it's a different kind of knowing than what we usually think of.
Imagination is everything,
Right.
especially for artists.
Yeah.
And that knowing thing, it's like intuition, right? Or maybe even a spiritual connection to something bigger than ourselves.
He says that everyone is a mirror, and that's magic. And he keeps talking about magic for seeing being good and magic for power being bad.
It's like he's saying we can learn so much from each other, from seeing ourselves reflected in others. And that good magic is about revealing truth, not about controlling people.
Then he says that even when you really see something, there's still a chance you're being deceived. And that art is just a small part of what you actually see. And he talks about how hard it is to balance technique with being original.
Yeah, that's a struggle for every artist, right?
Yeah.
You want to master your craft, but you also want to say something new.
Right. And then he says explaining something can sometimes ruin it. And he has this really great line. There are no mistakes. You are doing the best you can.
Oh, I love that. It's so reassuring, isn't it? It's like he's giving us permission to be imperfect, to not be afraid to try things, even if we don't know how they'll turn out.
And then he gets into this whole thing about cause and effect and how maybe we could reverse it. And he uses this metaphor of two pieces of a hologram arguing instead of working together.
That's so Bob Camblin, right?
Oh.
Those weird metaphors that make you scratch your head and think, what the heck does he mean? But then you think about it for a while and you start to get it. It's like he's challenging us to see things from a different perspective.
He asks if chaos comes before order or order before chaos.
That's a big question. Like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? I don't know if there's even an answer to that. Maybe it's both, or maybe it depends on how you look at it.
And then he comes back to this hologram thing. He says, we are holograms, and the more we get together, the clearer it becomes. And he ends by saying that we're here to dream of how it works.
I love that. It's like he's saying we're all connected and that our purpose is to try to understand the world, to create, to dream.
It's really beautiful. So I think we've covered a lot today. We started with belaboring the obvious, that one drawing, but it led us to all these other things.
Yeah, it's amazing how much you can learn about an artist from just one piece of work. It's like it opens up a whole world.
And we talked about Camblin's life, his influences, his philosophy. It's clear that he was a really deep thinker, someone who was always questioning, always exploring.
And his work is so thought-provoking, isn't it? It's not easy art, but it's rewarding. It makes you think, it makes you feel, it stays with you.
And even though he was against explaining his art, I think we've managed to shed some light on what he was trying to do.
Hopefully. I mean, we can never really know what was going on in his head.
Yeah.
Right. But by looking at his work, by reading his words, by thinking about his life, I think we can get a glimpse of what he was all about.
And hopefully this deep dive has given you some things to think about too, like what are your cracks and how can you use them to be more creative, more yourself?
And what are those obvious things in your life that you might be taking for granted? What would happen if you looked at them with fresh eyes, if you really saw them for what they are?
It's all about questioning, exploring, dreaming, and that's what Bob Camblin was all about. So thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
It was a good one.